very much, Dracos and Frosk, and welcome to the LEC post-game lobby. I'm QuickShot, joined by two of my favorite human beings on the planet, Origin's Cold and Andre Gahotto. Congratulations on the win. I do want to talk about that game in a minute or two. Just before we do, I want to talk about Fnatic taking down Vitality. We've got some clips in the background. It was fairly one-sided, and I know both of you guys were doing some interviews and some prep. So what I want to talk about is the team a little bit more holistically. Vitality put up a little bit of a fight, Andre, but it was pretty clear that Fnatic were the better squad. What's your take on both of these teams and their current strength?
I think that maybe Vitality at the moment is a bit easier to talk about in a way where I don't think they found what their strength is at the moment. I think that when they came into the LEC, it was really obvious that their aggressiveness was their strength, but that seems to be falling down a bit, or more into, instead of being control aggressiveness, just reckless aggressiveness. But I think they are still like a really good squad. I obviously worked with a couple of them. It's just about how can they actually find out their strength. I think they had a lot of success last week playing around bot side. Maybe not that much in this game if they played bot side at all, but maybe their strength comes a bit onto just following a bit everyone else and putting a bit more emphasis onto bot side and just leaving top side into more sustainable matchups. Maybe that could be their strength. In terms of Fnatic, they are just like a really well-rounded team. I think that there's not really a specific strength or a specific weakness of them. They are just well-rounded.
Really good.
Yeah, all their players are quite good. They obviously sometimes Bwipo wins a bit, and sometimes Hylissang hits a bit, and sometimes Hylissang's hard carries the game. So it's just it's just a really well-rounded team.
That can also be their strength, though.
Yeah.
So
it means you've got a very high ceiling when everyone pops off.
They're a very explosive team to play against, and I feel like at least from when you look at from how they played in spring, it seems that they are using their mid lane way more. And Nemesis has a way better performance, and it's not because necessarily he's playing better, but it's more because they play very well around him, and I think
they found a role for him. Basically.
Yeah, and he's playing his champions, and when he plays them, like I think he plays a lot of Corki and Twisted Fate lately, and he seems very comfortable with it. So they seem super strong. Yeah.
I have to ask your opinion on Broxah in particular, because this summer he's just had mind-blowing games almost every game. And I'm of the opinion that he might be the most impactful jungler in all of Europe. You know, what's your take on Broxah as a player and also playing against him?
Yeah, I think he stepped it up honestly for this split, because he plays different. I get the feeling when I play against him, at least we get to practice sometimes against them, and it seems that with the double jungle system they changed a little bit of their mentality of how they should play jungle. So I think we see Broxah generally now fighting more early, playing more, like taking more risks, and when he plays well, then it pays off. And I think especially when he's on the Lee Sin and he gets some early kills, you really see a guy that knows the limits of his champions. So I think it's fair to say from the games we have seen in the split that he has a lot of impact in the games, yeah.
I mean, he definitely feels like one of the main carries for Fnatic. It feels like every time he plays Lee Sin, especially Lee Sin, he pops off. Does Fnatic and the way they play on stage reflect how they play in scrims? Or is it something that like they just find their gear or their performance when the pressure's on?
I think they probably play a bit better on stage compared to the recent scrims. But I also think that they are taking the right approach in scrims that most teams are now taking. There's more around figuring out new stuff, not being scared of making mistakes and learning from them. And I also think that helped Broxah and Fnatic a lot. In Europe, in general, the region, I think that philosophy in scrims helped a lot. And that's why every team, in theory, will obviously look better on stage than on scrims, purely because in scrims is more
experimental
and figuring out what you actually
also, I feel like it's so when I sit here and talk about teams, it's so hard for me to like talk about a team because
And not leaking.
Also true, yes.
not actually about that, because it's more about that right now. For example, for us, we came back from Rift Rivals and we came to a whole new patch, new champions, new picks. The meta has completely shifted, and then you have to talk about a team where, for example, I think for mid lane, it's a big thing. Like we saw a lot of Aurelia, Akali, assassins in mid lane. Now I think today we saw so much Azir, Corki. It completely changes the dynamic of a team because suddenly you have to play the game differently. It's so hard to talk about, and I feel like we will have a better representation of like which teams are really shining in the next couple of weeks, because hopefully the game will be a little bit more stale and people will figure out the patch. But at least for us, we only got like 3-4 days on playing this patch, so we are still like learning a lot about like what is actually good. So
I mean, and
it's so hard to judge.
Yeah, and most of those days were actually against teams that were at Rift Rivals.
Yeah, so
they had. I mean, the only
Same
thing.
practice, yeah. They'll same amount.
The only thing that we are for sure is that if Sejuani is open, I'll pick it for this game. That's.
Well, there we go. So there we go. Leaking your own team strats. Good job, Kyoto. Just a quick update. Broxley, he ended up winning the Kia Player of the Game. He won 62% of the votes with another fantastic Lee Sin performance. I want to turn our attention in just a moment to the league standings. Of course, Fnatic are still undefeated. At the top of the table, 7-0. G2 just behind them at 6-1. And then Splice in third place. I will get the standings on the screen in a moment, but what I want to do is talk about Splice, because the discussion that you're going to start hearing on broadcast a lot more is Splice the third best team in Europe above Origin, Andre?
I think absolutely, definitely not. Not even close.
but the standings never lie.
Yeah.
Look, it's there statistically. So defend your case. Absolutely, definitely not. Tell me why.
I think that Splice will get absolutely murdered against us on a best of 5, and we had a really unlucky game where we wanted to use or to put him in the pavement in some situations, and that backfired. And Splice is a team that, if they get a lead, they are really good at like conserving that lead and even exploring that lead forward in a slow way most of the times. Even today, like they had a really good lead today. They had an outscaling comp, and it was still not that easy for them to actually close out the game. But at the same time, I just think and I feel and I have to be that way, that we are better than Splice, and in the best of 5, we would definitely prove it.
Jonas?
Well, I agree completely that we will at least go into a best of 5 with the expectation that we'll win. But right now, with the level that we show, at least in here in LEC, the games, I think we can't really say that we are just better than Splice because we haven't shown it. So it's always so easy to say like, we're playing so well at scrims, we're playing well, but if we don't show it, it doesn't really matter anything. So
I'll still say
I'll be open-minded and say that for now I think the standings tell that they're better than us, but I think if we're honest about it, when it comes to a best of 5, I will be surprised if we lose.
No one asked you about the standings. The question is,
who is the
in
third
your
best
opinion,
team?
are we better than Splice or not? In your opinion. No one
I love this, by the way. Andre's taking this over. So, Cold, the question was posed. In your opinion, is Origin better than Splice?
Well, I did answer the question.
Yeah, okay. And his answer, Andre, much to your disappointment, is that the standings don't lie and Splice are the better team. That's what I'm hearing officially from Cold.
Oh, no.
We're going to add this to our pregame next week.
Do you want to change your answer?
And the reason why, you guys looked like you were going to lose to XL today.
Yeah,
okay.
But there's a big difference, though. There's a very big difference. It's because, so today, I felt like...
So did Fnatic last week, by the way.
Very fair, yes. XL are surprising in the early
My
game.
coach didn't want to draft like the best possibilities that we had. So he gave us like a hard time. And then in the game, I wanted to also make it hard for us. So we decided to like sandbag a little bit early game and fall behind. And then we wanted to test XL if they could close out the game, but sadly they couldn't. So we won.
You are so full of nonsense. You are full of nonsense.
No, to be honest, like, okay, this is the real story. Like, the split has always been the same for us, right? And we wanted to make sure that we could find a good opportunity where Barney could carry. Because he's always crying like, oh my God, we always play bot side, never top side, Jonas never ganks top, never get a counter matchup. So
Holy.
We just wanted to set up on a situation where the whole team can int. I can int Raft a bit, but Barney still carries the game. It's just a good practice for Barney, I think.
Now, of course, obviously you guys were the favorite in the matchup. You came out ahead. You guys mentioned the fact that XL, they had a very strong early game against Fnatic last week, almost surprising as well. Let's talk about XL a little bit. They're still trying to figure out their roster.
Actually, our game reminded a lot about the Fnatic game.
Very
so like,
similar.
Basically, we're just as good as
we
Fnatic,
played like
right?
the first place team.
It's one of the things where I sit here and I obviously, I really, I obviously understand and appreciate your perspectives here, but XL are doing some things right in the early game, and they are catching teams unawares. Reasons irrelevant here, right?
Yeah.
But they're also showing the inexperience that when they do get ahead, they don't know what to do in the mid game, don't know what to do in the later stages of the game.
Without all the talking nonsense, I will say though, like we're, at least for myself, I was really disappointed with this game. We played to a level that I thought we were kind of over with, at least from how we transitioned from LEC to Rift Rival games. I felt like we progressed, and this game was back to what we showed before in LEC. So
Were you scared? Did you think you were going to lose the game?
no,
No.
but I knew it was hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you knew it was going to be a difficult game to win.
Yeah.
But at no point were you like,
I never felt like, yeah, this game is lost. No, I felt like we knew how to get back in the game, but it was obviously a very hard game. But back to the whole idea of the game is just, I felt like we got back to some of the problems we had before we left to Rift Rivals, and that at least for me is really disappointing because I know we can do so much better. So hopefully tomorrow, I think we can show better play.
Yeah, it must feel good though that you did come back despite losing. Like, it's the hallmark of a great team that if you are better, even in a difficult situation, you're still going to do it.
In the end, in a couple of weeks, it will probably only be us that is thinking about like how poorly we played here. Yeah. Like in the end, you get a win, and that's cool, you know. But we have higher expectations of ourselves that we want to play to a level where we feel like we played a good game. Yeah. And if you leave the stage and have the feeling that you won. You kind of just won by playing like an average or even to some extent below average game. It never really feels good as a competitor.
Thank you very much for your candid response. It means a lot. You talked a lot about Rift Rivals. I'm going to turn to Giotto.
Oh, no.
What did you think of Rift Rivals for both of you guys back on the international stage? Well, Cold back on the international stage. Andre, first shot with OG, going back to NA. I mean, you know, how was the whole experience?
First of all, I think that important thing to take out of Rift Rivals is that we need a smoothie bar in the studio.
I agree.
So the smoothie bar, that's what helped you guys lift the trophy.
Wow.
Patrick looks ecstatic at the win, and so does Barney, obviously. But very seriously, though, you know, what was it like, and how did you guys feel about the win?
But that's just Barney's normal face, though.
He's not angry.
No,
he's not angry.
He's actually happy, but...
He's actually,
That's just his expression.
Just his normal face. It's just like... he's just laughing inside. He just doesn't show it.
What was Mithy thinking, of course, taking down TSM, taking down Sven?
That was our goal, no? Like, at some point, especially after... So before Rift Rivals, we said we are going to beat TSM. That's our goal. And then when EU goes 3-0 in the first few days, and we just realize that we are way better than North America, is not even a competition. Then we start like playing a bit with our food, just thinking on what pick are we gonna take next, and that kind of lowered my expectations of the tournament itself. And I think that looking back now, especially to that Pantheon Thalia, where our aim was to have fun, we came to realize that probably winning is more fun than playing this kind of stuff. And it was on me because I was pushing really hard for us to have fun. And then when we go to the best of 5, it's just like we are just G2 lost, so we are kind of playing it a bit and like, okay, G2 lost, now they are out of it, they don't play anymore. Then we obviously won, so we are like, no matter what, we are picking TSM because we could pick what NA team we were facing. So it was it was obviously for fun, where I felt that from a competitive point of view, we actually lost because we didn't manage to keep up with the patch well enough and how the meta in EU was being played. But it was obviously fun, and it was good to do some team bonding and to just relax with everyone. And obviously knowing LA, at least for me, was the first time.
I initially thought I would gain at least like 3 kilos from the trip from all the food I would eat. But then I came back and I didn't even gain anything. So
I did.
The trip was a success in all regards.
What was the rest of the players on the squad like? Obviously, you know, once EU went 4-0 on day one, you could see the focus maybe disappeared. And then then there was like less pressure. It was like, okay, we've proven we are unequivocally better. And then it was a little bit more of just an enjoyment. So what was it like for you and the rest of the boys in the Rifts?
I mean, I feel like after the first day, at least for us, we got to the point where we were like getting so overconfident that we felt I can pick any champion and win.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where you lose. Even for the NA teams, like I felt really bad for them, honestly, because they are just in a lose-lose situation. So we were happy we could win for Miffy Alfonso. He really wanted to beat TSM, and I understand why. And so we left the tournament with a happy face.
And what was it like for you in particular, getting back to the international stage, playing up against some of the biggest names in North American, both players and organizations, even if it was a little bit more of a for fun type of competition?
So for me, it was just overall like a sick experience because you play League so many hours during the year, like you play, and you play a lot against the same people all the time. But the truly memorable experiences you get in your career is when you go somewhere, play a tournament, even though it was only a tournament that didn't have any stakes. It's so cool to travel around the world and play tournaments. And I think even though it didn't have much at stake, it was still something that I will remember. So,
one last question. What was the fan support like on social media and on Reddit you know, with an overwhelming amount of EU greater than NA?
Yeah. I mean, the EU fans seem to like the tournament. I'm not really sure like why, but yeah, they were definitely happy with the general results of the tournament.
Yeah, obviously, we all were, of course. Congratulations on picking up the wins and showing up against the NA squad, especially because G2 couldn't, you know? Fnatic and
I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. Like, sometimes G2 just loses and tries to, like, sabotage the whole tournament for you.
Well, they weren't able to sabotage it. No vacation memes this time around. I want to turn our attention to something that's a little bit more obscure and maybe a little bit more closer to Cold's heart. I want to talk about Origin as an organization. One of the things we've talked a lot about here in Europe this year, especially with the long-term partnerships and the different approaches to building teams. You know, XL, they've got their home base near the Twickenham Stadium. They're flying in. You guys, based in Denmark, you guys are flying in as well. What's it like being part of the organization? All memes aside, and how is Origin trying to develop the team and the individual athletes?
Oh man, for me, at least being part of Origin has been probably the best step I have taken in my career because I have quite different opinions about how you should deal with your life as an esports player. Even though you're an esports player, I probably go more towards the sports side of things. In prior teams, I had to push more for those kind of things, where now in Origin, I don't have to do anything because they just come naturally. And some of the stuff is like exercising. It can be just not just have League of Legends be your life, but actually have a life with League of Legends. And I think that is where the big difference is nowadays, that you're not just playing League of Legends, and then what if you one day wake up and you're not going to play anymore? Then what are you going to do? In Origin, we try to push towards you have different possibilities so that you can have a normal life. I think it's something, at least for me, I'm 24 now, I'm getting older. You need to have like some things in your life that you can look towards when you're not just playing the game, because eventually there will be moments where you don't want to you wake up and you don't want to play, but you're going to do it anyway because you are so passionate about the game. And those moments are so important. You have other stuff to look back to. So I have never been happier, as like for myself at least. Also, sometimes I wake up and I have to meet Andre again, but then
he's not miming.
Yeah.
My window looks to your window, so I can see you doing this.
That's not creepy at all, Andre. What's it like for you, though? Of course, you know, you've got different teams worth of experience. You also come from a traditional sports world in coaching. So, you know, what is the Origin way and your take?
I mean, it's basically what Jonas just said here. Like the fact that there's a life outside of the game. At least for me, the fact that I'm able to just live with my girlfriend in Denmark, and she has her life, and I have mine, and we are just living together, and that's actually like nothing that is seen with bad eyes or bad work ethic or something. Is just extremely important to me, and something that maybe Jonas didn't mention, but it's something that it's really important to me is the fact that we do value a lot the happiness of an individual, right? It's the fact that you're not overloaded, the fact that you use stuff outside of the game, like going to the gym, like going to yoga, just hanging out, etc. That just not only release you the stress, but makes you feel happy with yourself, and that for me is the key aspect of the whole refresh model, and why we believe in it so much, and that's why our philosophy will not change from there.
Also, we have so many people working around us that no one will see, that is pushing towards making Origin great. Like I think at least like 30 people in the office back in Copenhagen trying to just help us be more successful and helping us with everything on a daily. So like it's just such a boost in terms of the infrastructure from previous teams that I can purely focus on the game and what I'm doing in life. Sometimes even I think we get like too much help because like sometimes I get surprised even like
dinners.
About like so little responsibilities we have in our life. Like you would be surprised. We literally just have to wake up and play the game.
So how do you feel then when you see some of the aspects of the Origin approach sort of being memed about? Like the yoga videos and maybe they should do less yoga when Origin loses a game being a meme.
Yeah.
How do you feel when you see that?
I think it's hilarious, honestly. So I'm not I'm not saying that you should do yoga every day or you should do yoga. Everyone should. No, it's not like that. It's just another tool to help you. That's how I see it.
Tools help each individual,
exactly.
and then do that.
And that is something we also try to push at Origin. It's not that everyone has to do yoga. It's not that everyone has to go work out. But it's more about that you have to make sure that everyone. You know why it's good for you, or you know why these things can boost your performance, but you should never be forced into doing something that you're not gonna enjoy.
Right, it doesn't work.
Yeah, so we experiment a lot with things on a daily basis, and we're trying to figure out what is the best for the individual. So probably for me, it's very different. What is great for me in my daily life compared to some of my teammates. But Origin is willing to look at different ways to make sure that we're happy. So
you have to build a unique approach for each individual,
exactly,
and then think
exactly.
about the team and how it all works together. I mean, look, Origin came back to the league this year. You guys made finals in spring. You just smashed NA at Rift Rivals. The last topic I want to talk about before we move on. We're looking forward to Worlds. No, we'll let you get past that. You can deal with the XL nightmares later. But let's look forward to Worlds. You guys are in a fantastic position, currently 4th in the league. You've got a lot of championship points under your belt. Andre, you just missed Worlds last year.
My God.
It's tantalizingly close. So, what would it mean for you and for Origin, not only to get there, but then in Europe and then to show up on that stage?
I mean, first of all, for us, it's not only important going to Worlds, is going to Worlds and be on a good form. We don't want to go to Worlds and just be like sandbags of Europe and we just ended up going. So in order for us to achieve that, we don't look forward to Worlds yet. We don't think about it. We don't think about that possibility yet. We think about Rogue game tomorrow. We think about after Rogue's game. We think about the games next week, and we think about our improvement week after week. Because I'm really confident on the squad of players that I have that as long as we keep thinking like that and we keep improving week after week, we are going to reach on a really good form into the playoffs best of fives. And because of that, we are going to reach on a really good form into Worlds. So far, it doesn't mean anything. The only thing that it could mean so far is a distraction. And that's what we are trying to avoid. So it was really hard for me not to make Worlds last year. But I can't live in the past, and none of our players can live in the past. So the goal is just focus game after game, making sure that our performance improves game after game, and then we'll reach to a good level, and hopefully that good level will be enough for us to not only go to Worlds, but show a good performance there as well.
Cold, I know that's probably the discussions that happen on a team level.
That was a very smart answer.
You went to Worlds. I was at that event with you in San
yeah.
Francisco. We talked. You just smashed NA in LA. You have to think about Worlds in your private time. What would it mean for you to get back there and to go up against the best junglers in the world?
Why would you know what I think about my private time?
I'm telling you. I looked through your window with Andre, right? We're looking at your diary and seeing, but you know what I mean?
Send me your Snapchat.
I mean, obviously it crosses your mind. Like once in a while, it crosses your mind. You are at the top of Europe. You are close to reaching that point. But like, at least for me, like, it would be such a huge step to get back to the world stage. We got a little teaser of it in Rift Rivals, but it's definitely something I think for once, at least the past couple of years, I have the feeling that we will get there. It's just a feeling, and
it feels believable. It feels real.
Exactly, and I don't think that has anything to do with being cocky or saying like we will make it 100%. But I have that feeling, and I hope my teammates feel the same way. But we all know that we have to put in a lot of work, because right now we are not playing at the level needed to make sure 100% we go to Worlds. So. And
I just got one last question now. If we step back and not about Origin, but now Europe is a region. G2 wins MSI, Fnatic made it to finals, you know, LCK, question marks, they've just won Rift Rivals, we don't know what level they're going to bring. Like, do we believe that EU is going to continue to be that level of competitive?
Ooh, I think actually Korea looked really good at the Rift Rivals tournament. I was quite surprised by how well they played. But you have to be at your top level when you play against the Chinese teams and the Korean teams, because they don't do silly mistakes. Like, for example, today we did at least like 2-3 silly mistakes in the early game, and if we give that kind of advantage to one of those teams, we will automatically lose the game. So I think that the EU teams has what it takes. Don't get me wrong, but they have to play at their best.
I think you can also see it on the other way around, though. LCK and LPL now need to bring their top level to face EU. I think that you asked if will Europe be competitive at Worlds, and I think absolutely yes. I think that we cannot consider ourselves the best region, as most of people are saying. I think that's absolutely false. But I think that we no longer see Korea and China as like these gods that you cannot touch and you cannot beat. We are in this moment in the discussion, and I think that there's also no distinction at the moment between China and Korea, where these three regions have possibilities to win and to make far in all their three teams that will go. And all these 9 teams will compete on a very equal Worlds, and they will show really, really good performances. I think it's no longer Korea on top, or last year when Fnatic reached the final, it was Korea and China, and now it's Korea, China, Europe. I actually think it's like the level is quite similar, and everything can happen.
That's also like for me why it's so exciting to actually potentially go to Worlds, because in the past, at least the first time I went there, we kind of went there more as a team to learn. We were not expecting to win. We were not expecting to do it. Like, it was more
when
anything.
You say win, is like win the tournament or win a game?
I think we should skip that question.
I mean, we did have the group of death. It was a hard group,
of course.
Yeah.
But let's just leave that in the past. But it is very exciting that now you actually go into a potential Worlds as a European, and you have this belief that no team there you just ought to lose against.
Yeah.
That is exciting.
As a fan and as a viewer, that's exactly how I feel. I have a lot of faith and confidence in the top tier teams from EU, and no pressure. I'm hoping we show up. I'm really, really excited. Guys, thank you so much for this talk. I do need to take a look forward to tomorrow. LEC returns with 5 more games to close out the week. I just want to look at the schedule and ask you, what are you most excited for tomorrow, Andre, when you look at the matchups?
Origin versus Rogue.
Oh, nice. Is Rogue going to be taking down Origin?
No.
Great. Cold, what game are you looking at?
Origin.
No, I mean, this is quite
there an
obvious, no?
echo?
Okay. Obviously,
No,
the
wait.
game that I'm most excited
more-
of
what
is
is
our
exciting?
game. That's
Yes.
like
Yes.
that's obvious. And if I don't have to look in our game, then I would say maybe Fnatic versus Splice.
Could be
Because
fun.
I think that like Splice are kind of the gatekeepers of late game in EU, and if Fnatic can bring like a fast-paced style, then I think that they will win easily against Splice, and if they don't, then Splice will give them a hard time. So it's also good to see in both in what level Splice is and what
Yep.
level Fnatic is. So
You know, there are so many great storylines. We have XL. Will they win their first game?
I don't know. You tell me. Will they beat SK?
Then we have Misfits playing what,
Give me a
what
prediction.
lineup is
Give me a
playing.
prediction.
Like they're
Will XL beat SK tomorrow?
absolutely yes.
Yes.
yeah, I think so too.
Well, there we go. There we have it. All right, Cold and Andre Gahotta saying XL will pick up their first win tomorrow. We'll find
But
out.
actually, like the ease that you get storylines, it seems like you were a caster or something.
Hey, listen, if you ever want to stop playing, you've got a job here. At midnight tonight, LCS
Like that?
Academy is starting their
Isn't
set
that
of
called
games.
poaching?
Yeah, isn't that poaching?
It's not. It's a general statement. After that, you can catch up on everything from
Wait.
LEC and
You
our
will-
rebroadcast.
You will hear.
I
You will
would
hear
like
from
to
the
make-
official. You-
I would like to make a complaint to the league officials. Like,
That was it from us here tonight. Thank you very much. Andre, thank you very much. Jonas, we'll see you tomorrow with more action in the LEC. See you then. Thank you very much.
thank you. Wait, did you just poach my play?
No. The LEC is back. Let's hit the rift.
Oh, wait, what?
It's actually...
In back to his demise. Trick in the middle of it all as well, and Ignat's still alive. Has the thick skin. Upset from the side. Shao could collapse. All pincering in onto Rogue, and Rogue fall apart. 3 kills go down, and 1 more to the number. It's 4. Dreams and Crowshot, what on earth are you doing there? Literally feeding yourself into Splice, and Splice will eat you right up. Gobble in 2 kills.
Because right now, SK are giving up absolutely everything. There's a self-bait.
May jumps in, the Valkyrie comes out as well. Do they have the damage? They've got 1, but 1 in return comes out from Splice and Kami. It's going on a rampage, jumping all over SK. There's nothing they can do against him.
Level 3, level 4 with Sejuani makes her way back towards the top side of the map. That's where Misfits will look to try and punish this player.
Oh, Caps. No Ignite doesn't need it.
Both ultis are up and available with SK on the platform. They're going to kill Zug. Forget to push a button. Leader waiting on the backside, trying to buy a bit more time, but he has been locked up. He has been stunned. Wonder pulled in, will not find anyone except for Gorilla. Not the target that he wanted, but it does not matter. They found their team fight win. He's had to take the moment, but it will not work out in the end. Mickey getting burned down. OG are simply too strong. They will move up to 4 and 3, and a good early game for Excel is simply not enough. He's thinking about it. It's on the cat. Is he going to go for a little bit more? He'll say, oh my god, what a beautiful engage now coming through. Can they turn it back out? Trying to get something done. Moving on the backside. Broxa taken down. Attila is still alive. Can they retreat? Jackdrol jumping back in, but the cat is next on the menu, and Nemesis wants to taste. He's going to get it taken out in the end. What a beautiful fight from Fnatic. That's going to be it, folks. If they want to end the game, they can. The Yumi play was a little bit overextended. Fnatic remain undefeated.